Hello there, Reject Nation. I'm Greg Alba.
I'm John Humphrey.
We're going to watch from WatchMojo.com, one of the greatest channels ever.
Ooh.
20 million subs. Damn, these guys are pups. Top 10 bad guy, good guy movie team-ups. This is good. This is good knowledge to obtain. One of our top reward tiers over at our Patreon page is whatever video you request we must do and put up on YouTube's. And today comes from the man named Mikhail Linden. And we'll give you a proper shout at the end of this video. But I just did want to say, if you guys haven't ever been to the new Rockstars YouTube channel, go check them out. They're just a great channel. They're not asking us to do that. They don't even know who we are. I just love watching their vids, and I wanted to recommend them in case you haven't seen these guys who are exceptionally more popular than us. Let's go into this video. Uno, dos, tres.
I'm surprised it's not Andrew Haynes.
Oh, he's got one.
Okay.
We love how they hate each other, but we love it even more when they team up. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 good guy, bad guy team-ups in movies. For this list, we're looking at the most notable nemesis team-ups in film.
You think you alone were loved, Mother? You had her tricks, but I had her trust.
Some may not be traditional
old
good
Thor.
guys or bad guys, but characters who
Completely
have some sort
overhauled
of conflict with each other in the
Shakespearean
but
Thor.
are now working together to accomplish a shared goal. Since this tends to be
I
a major plot
can't
point
go back
in a
and
lot of
watch
these
those movies.
Consider this your spoiler.
No, so distracted by like it's so different later on.
Alright. Ding, ding.
Number 10, Thor and Loki.
But
Thor:
let's
The
watch
Dark
this.
World.
Unlike you, brother. So clandestine.
Even though they don't share DNA, these two characters grew up as brothers, and Loki always resented the kind of attention Thor received.
I thought you liked tricks.
Despite the bad blood between them, when their mother is killed by
Malekith.
Malekith, they reluctantly work together, setting their differences aside. Sort of. They leave Asgard against Odin's will, so that Thor can save Jane from an ancient power that threatens the realms. In return, Loki can avenge
God, is that what that's
his
about?
She wouldn't want to.
I barely remember the movie.
Wiped the plot from my memory.
Well, she wouldn't exactly be shocked.
But when Loki is fatally injured, there's a touching moment between him and Thor. It's because of this display of brotherly love that this team-up is interesting. It shows that they do care for each other beneath all the bitterness.
I'll tell Father what you did here today.
I'm gonna have like a lot of scenes like that,
Yeah.
I didn't do it for him.
Number 9, Royce and Predator, Predators.
This made the
Like
list.
warrior between this
I'm
unique
excited right now.
Royce and Predator
Cool
are
fan
able
of
to
this
come
movie.
to
This is not
In
what I
exchange for a one-way
expected.
trip on a spaceship to Earth, Royce will free Predator from his chains.
I want off this planet. You stared me. How could you now?
It's a deal that Predator decides to honor, because he'd rather fight the bigger, badder Predator who put him in chains to begin with. It's momentous because it's the first time that a Predator spares a human in favor of killing its own kind. Too bad he ends up getting his head sliced off, and the ship gets blown to smithereens. But at least we saw
Wow.
the beginnings of interspecies diplomacy. It's a step in the right
Spoilers are
direction.
gonna be.
I needed to know who we're up against.
Oh yeah.
Now I do.
Number 8.
I'm the pianist.
Frank Abagnale, Carl Hanratty. Catch me if you can.
Cal Hanratty.
Come back.
The last 20 minutes of this.
Yeah.
They're spoiling
Yeah, I
so much of these movies.
Frank, nobody's chasing you.
A chase between FBI agent Carl and teen conman Frank turns into an unlikely partnership and friendship here in a film inspired by true events.
Frank Abagnale.
I knew it was you. Now, maybe I didn't get the cuffs on you, but I knew.
People only know what you tell them, Carl.
After Carl investigates him for years, once Frank is in prison, these two characters team up to put Frank's expertise in forging checks to use.
Oh yeah.
How's your daughter?
Barry Allen.
What was her name?
Grace. What? I don't know. She lives with her mother in Chicago. I don't get to see her much.
Sadly,
I forgot her
they
name.
both suffer from a void left behind after their families were torn apart by divorce and remarriages.
Should have called
But
this movie
while working
Catch
together,
Me in My
they
Wigs.
develop a bond that fills that void. Gives Frank the courage to stop living in his world
Catch
of
me in a
lies,
hairpiece.
and shows that true friends can be found in the most unexpected places.
I don't understand.
Sure you do. Sometimes it's easier living the lie.
Number 7. Godzilla, Mothra, and Rodan, Ghidorah.
Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Monster.
このままでは地球は滅亡です。キングギドラのために。
The Godzilla
You just watched this
franchise
one before.
constantly pits fierce monsters
I kinda
against
want to.
each other,
Might
but
as
when
well.
they join forces,
Seems like
they
it's mainly
become
inspired by
quite
this
the
one.
formidable
Yeah.
team.
Hot potato.
I prefer this Godzilla. Look at him.
In the 5th film installment, Tokyo is under attack by Ghidorah, a 3-headed, 2-tailed, gravity beam breathing dragon.
Whoa.
On the very same day that Godzilla and Rodan appear. Talk about bad luck. Mothra is summoned to save the Earth.
Yeah, but the new
And
Godzilla's
she
fat.
pleads for Godzilla and Rodan to fight with her against the dragon.
Damn.
But the two are perfectly happy to exchange blows with one another until they see
like
Mothra
somebody
attack
got
Ghidorah
blown
on her own.
There's a
They
semen
ultimately
joke
put their
here.
grudges aside
Oh, you
and
know
save
it.
the day
Oh.
by becoming a badass dragon slayer.
Get away.
Well, for now.
Moisturized still.
私たちはインパクト島に戻ります。さようなら。
I forgot they could talk.
Number 6. Tuco and Blondie.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Good and the ugly take on the bad.
After all the times I've saved your life.
In this gunslinging classic spaghetti western,
Scott
Tuco and
Eastwood.
Blondie start off on the wrong foot. This only gets worse when Blondie turns his back on their first partnership, which involved making money over and over again off of Tuco's bounty.
You're the son of 1,000 fathers, all bastards like you. And your mother, your mother, you bastard!
A great deal of antagonism is born out of this incident, but it's put aside in favor of locating $200,000 in gold, of which only Blondie knows the exact location. So they form a shaky new alliance to prevent Angel Eyes from finding the treasure first.
I'm very happy you're working with me. And we're together again. Get dressed, I kill him and be right back.
Still, what makes this team so fascinating is that they never really trust each other, but still mostly care for each other. Well, if you can call it that.
Care?
That's why you came to Tuco. It doesn't matter. I'll kill them all.
Number 5. James Bond and Jaws. Moonraker.
You know?
Not socially.
Moonraker.
His name's Jaws. He kills people.
One of the
In this
greats.
film, Bond and Jaws, a henchman who doesn't know how to die, are trying to kill each other once again. But this time, if Jaws wants a chance to live, he'll have to put his goal of killing Bond on hold to stop his employer Drax from hitting
Look like
reboot
Peter
on
Dinklage.
I know.
So the huge killing machine switches sides, teaming
Peter
up with
Dinklage is Dr.
007
Evil.
to eliminate Drax and send him into space.
Desolated, Mr. Poe. Heartbroken, Mr. Drax.
This 180 shows that a Bond villain
Whoa.
can act for the greater
Oh my.
good, and that Bond is smooth enough to make a bad guy do good things.
Jaws? We can't disengage. The docking release system is jammed. Can you help us?
Number 4.
Interesting.
Rocky Balboa
Yes.
and Apollo Creed.
Good
Rocky
call.
3.
Good call.
with you?
God.
There is no tomorrow.
You know,
These two boxers have been at odds with each other from the beginning of Rocky's career. But when Rocky's trainer Mickey passes away due to a heart attack, set aside in favor of training
Best scene
together
ever.
to make
Oh, yeah.
Rocky as strong and skilled as possible.
now when you
so
see
he can
actors
knock
like
out
this
his
buff,
number one
it's not
contender,
weird.
Clubber Lang.
Back then, that was rare.
Just stay out of my face, Chuck.
A deep friendship is born through these trials and tribulations. And, in the end, it leads to Rocky's second heavyweight championship title.
The heavyweight champion of the world, the Italian stallion, Rocky Balboa.
God, no fat on him. No fat.
Rocky and Apollo's new bond doesn't stop them from throwing punches at each
Overly
other from
buff.
time to time. So, while their rivalry was intense, their friendship is even better.
Peter and Quagmire.
By 1 second. By 1 second. That's very hard for a man of my intelligence to handle.
Oh, is it? But didn't you say after I beat you, you learned how to live with it?
I lied.
Oh, you lied.
Number 3, Xavier and Magneto.
Which
X-Men
one?
Days of Future Past.
You abandoned me. You took her away and you abandoned me.
Though the Brotherhood
I
and
mean-
X-Men work together in X2, X-Men United to save mutant kind, it's actually X-Men Days of Future Past that takes third place on our list. since it sees Xavier and Magneto teaming up in both the present and the past.
Fair.
See you too, old friend.
Old wounds are patched as young Xavier and Magneto join forces to prevent killing machines from nearly destroying all mutants in the future.
But there he stops.
An easy alliance,
he stops
though,
teaming.
As Xavier and Magneto's ideas of how to go
eventually.
about saving
He
humankind
always
are
does.
completely different. But despite a few bumps along the way, they part with respect for one another. Can't they just admit that they love each other already?
Goodbye, old friend.
I feel like they're still friends.
Goodbye, Harry.
Number 2, Captain James T. Kirk and Khan. Star Trek Into Darkness.
My crew is my family, Kirk. Is there anything you would not do for your family?
They team up for
this
like
team-up, Kirk
a
makes
minute.
desperate deal with Khan
Yeah,
to
and
take
they
on
like
a hostile
punch the
top
shit out of him and
secret
stun him,
like
and then
SS
the rest of them.
their enemies, and then they
must
team up and then they're
cooperate to
enemies.
defeat their common enemy, Admiral Marcus, who's hell-bent on starting an intergalactic war between humankind and the Klingons.
You killed them in cold blood.
Marcus took my crew from me. You are a murderer.
But making any deal with Khan, a power-hungry superhuman, is insanely dangerous.
I don't think Star Trek
And
fans will
once
agree
their
with
common
this
enemy
number.
is apprehended, the alliance
Especially how
disintegrates
high
like
up it
mortal
is.
flesh in a radioactive reactor chamber. Kirk backstabs Khan, only to have Khan in turn seriously damage the Enterprise.
Nothing was helping us.
Considering their antagonism in the original Star Trek, it is riveting to see these two work together, knowing that they are only using each other.
This indicates that you plan to align with Khan, the very man we were sent here to destroy.
I'm not aligning when I'm using him.
Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Oh yeah.
Guys, there's only one uniform. One of us has to go on the other one's shoulders.
I'll fight with none but thee.
Oh man.
For I do hate thee.
What is this? It's a Shakespeare adaptation.
Blade, meet the blood pack.
Blade 2? Love this movie.
Lighthammer, Verlaine.
Number 1, Clarice Starling and Dr. Hannibal Lecter.
Good call.
Silence of the
Good
Lambs.
call.
At least you got the most
In
important
this
one.
classic psychological thriller, FBI trainee Clarice Starling seeks the help of Dr. Hannibal Lecter, a cannibalistic serial killer, to capture another killer on the loose,
Hazel
Buffalo
eyes.
Bill.
I'll help you catch him, Terry.
You know who he is, don't you?
In order to gain Lecter's professional advice, she makes a deal with him to exchange personal information about herself.
You're very frank, Terry. I think it would be fun something to know.
That's my pickup line.
They form a strange kind of bond, the kind you can only share with someone who knows about your most traumatizing moments.
What did you see, Clarice? What did you see?
Lamb. Like we're screaming.
It's just too bad for Clarice that she has this kind of relationship with a
Yeah.
killer that she then has to chase to put back in jail after his impressive escape. But it's the twisted nature of their relationship that we just can't get enough of.
Starling.
Well,
I guess I like this.
have the lamb stopped screaming?
Do you agree with our list? What's your favorite good guy, bad guy team up?
Well, now,
Oh,
just like old times.
easily Hobbs
More
and
mind-blowing
Shaw.
top 10s
Definitely.
Subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
Gonna be good, yeah.
My God, what's Bond doing?
I think he's attempting re-entry, sir.
Oh my. What a pun. What a pun.
He was gay in real life.
Really? Roger Moore? Or James Bond, the real man?
Roger Moore. You know that?
No, I did not. But that's exciting to know. I'm going to
Yeah.
appreciate his performances as a womanizer that much
That
more.
much more, believe. Hobbs and Shaw, man.
Yeah.
I was on John Campia's show, and they asked me at my Han Had It Coming camp. Or Justice for Han camp. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. I didn't love Han. I barely remember the guy.
Wasn't he a villain at first, and then he joins
all
the family?
Bad guys.
Yeah,
they're all criminals. Who gives a shit? It's a Fast and the Furious franchise. Whether I watch Han or Jason Statham in here, I'm gonna watch Jason Statham in The Rock.
Everyone resets at the beginning, technically.
Yeah, man.
Not maybe linearly,
technically in the first movie, Vin Diesel's a bad guy. You know.
So he and Paul Walker are one of the greatest team ups ever.
I'm having a hard time thinking of like other team ups, but
and I know there are some good ones.
Wasn't it Alien versus Predator the first time a Predator teamed up with a human?
Yeah, sort of, because at least the lead
totally
like scientist lady, they have that whole moment where they make eye contact and then he like lets her go, and like there's sympathy there. So
they totally work together in that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also say
but not better than Predators.
Yeah, no, it's definitely better than Predators. Loki and Thor. And looking back over this imagery, I'm like, Thor: The Dark World doesn't get credit for its cinematography and its costume design and makeup, because there's a lot of that cool technical aspects. I mean, let's talk story-wise. We don't have to talk about that, but I mean, come on, just breezing over these images, just like, damn, this film looks so cool, though.
It did make me want to rewatch it.
Yeah, they explained the plot. I'm like, I don't even remember the plot of the movie. That's kind of crazy.
All I remember is Jane getting to Asgard and being unfazed.
Yeah.
Making a lot of jokes.
I thought it was funny that Predators made the list because it's so brief.
I know.
It's like 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, and especially as they reveal to us the way that whole thing plays out, it's like it's a very short-lived moment. But I just admire that movie for how badly Adrian Brody wanted to be in it.
Yeah, man.
Because he really went the extra mile.
He really went full Christian Bale in that movie.
Oh yeah, the gruff voice and everything.
Catch Me If You Can. I would have put this higher on the list.
Yeah.
Because that movie had a surprise turn of events if you didn't Wikipedia the true story, which at the time Wikipedia did not exist. Because I was just under the impression, he's going to get caught. This is based on a true story. I didn't know this turn of events would actually take place. That they would actually celebrate the criminal Frank in this movie.
Well, they actually have some kind of bond by the end of it, and he also comes to work for them.
Yeah,
so,
it's a cat and mouse game, but then it ends up turning into a friendship. It weirdly ends on a happy note.
Yeah.
And it's you feel that happiness.
And that's the movie that brought a lot of the population like fully on board to Leonardo DiCaprio as an adult.
Mm-hmm. Go Gangs in New York and Catch Me If You Can both came out in the same month as his comeback time. I love that Moonraker's on here.
I know. Finally, some respect for Moonraker.
Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed is a great call.
Yeah.
Because without them becoming friends, we wouldn't have the Creed franchise now.
Yeah, totally.
And it has greatly affected the Rocky franchise because, they're kind of enemies in the first one. And the second one, they're like, no, this is a versus movie. Yeah. And then in the third one, they become buds, and it greatly affected the remainder of the franchise. Yeah,
and it's a turn that feels, at least as I recall it, it feels like a kind of natural thing to do. I mean, they're peers. Like, of all these movies, they're the least vehemently opposed to each other. It's more about the circumstances.
Yeah. I love them together, man.
Yeah.
I love them together.
Especially, like, patting each other on the beach.
Dude, that was the best homoerotic sequence ever when they're running on the beach.
Where's that list? Get that, Top Gun's volleyball scene.
Best homoerotic scenes.
Best homoerotic scenes.
Because that is so, Stallone directed that movie, and that's why it's even funnier to me. Because he specifically took shots of close-up on their thighs when they're running. We worked out hard, and we're going to demonstrate that.
Showcase every muscle. Oh, we did not skip leg day. It's important.
Xavier and Magneto, that's a good call. It's funny that I didn't even realize that in X2 and Days of Future Past, they work together. Yeah. And in both movies, Magneto turns on them at the end.
Of course he does. He has to go back to being bad again.
We can't. Not an apocalypse. August was in reverse. He was bad, and then they end on a good note.
Yeah, because there's a bigger, badder.
Yeah. If there's any Trekkie fans who have made it to this point, I think I was able to appreciate Benedict Cumberbatch's performance as Khan. Even though I had heard, the Khan jokes, and knowing that Khan was the ultimate villain in the Star Trek movie franchise, I didn't have any of that built into me of Ricardo Montalban when I watched this film. So I liked Benedict Cumberbatch's performance a lot. Ever since I've seen Star Trek II Wrath of Khan, I haven't revisited this movie. But I feel like Benedict Cumberbatch gets a lot of crap for this film. And I'm like, why? I really think in this portrayal in this movie, I thought he does a great job.
Yeah, well, and I think too maybe there's some backlash against the fact that they blatantly lied about who he's playing. They're like, definitely not Khan. Oh, he is.
And it's not at all in tune with, you watch Wrath of Khan. That Khan take is so different.
Yeah.
You didn't have to call him Khan Into Darkness. That was the thing. You could have put a lot of hate if you just didn't call him Khan. There's no need to call him Khan in the movie.
Yeah, it's just to get those butts in the seats because people know the significance, man.
Yeah, but under a different name, you'd see that, oh, this is a 100% different character. So it's kind of, I don't know if it's the right word is insulting, but it's nowhere near honoring the original Khan.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the lie that you're talking about is true. I love the Austin Powers and Mini-Me team up in Golden Ember. In fact, I wouldn't have made that an honorable mention.
I would have put it, on the
I would
list.
have knocked one of the other ones off for that.
I'd have taken Khan and Kirk off personally.
Yeah.
Because I'm befuddled that made it to the second spot on this list.
But Clarice Starling, Dr. Hannibal Lecter is a good call.
Do
you know why Jodie Foster didn't return for Hannibal?
Because she was traumatized by the experience of making this first movie? Because she and Anthony Hopkins became good friends, and she was like, "No, I just can't see you this way."
I'm gonna work with Mel though. They're all the troubles.
Yeah.
It was because in the Hannibal movie, have you seen it?
I've seen the scene where people are eating Ray Liotta's brain.
You see, in that scene, in the book, Clarice starts to partake, and they kind of end on a good, like, I don't know if they're lovers in the book or something, but it ends on a note where they're bonded. Yeah, that's how it was in the original script. And she didn't want to go through with that. She wasn't down? No, she wasn't down. For some reason, when they cast Julianne Moore, they rewrote it anyway.
Well, maybe it's for this. There's an alternate timeline where Jodie Foster did do that. It's a great choice for number one, though, especially. Because, like, this is a very broad list in terms of, like, the kinds of films, too.
Yeah.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, I thought, was a real nice choice, also. On the more morally ambiguous side of the spectrum, but that is a pretty classic two sides of the fence team.
Sure, that's true. Captain Barbossa and James Franco, Jack Sparrow.
Now that is a team up. I would pay to see.
But no, Barbossa and Jack Sparrow is kind of a defining team up to me because they're totally protagonist antagonists in the first Pirates movie, and then by the time you get to Pirates 3, they're working together, and then in 4, they're still working together. They butt heads and stuff, and they kind of dick each other over.
Yeah, they're just like buddy cops now.
And by part 5, you care a lot about Barbossa, and he even has a wonderful, if you haven't seen it, has a wonderful final moment in that movie where you really care about him. So I would totally say Barbossa and Jack Sparrow on the list.
That's a good call.
Would Gollum and Frodo count? Because he wasn't really pitched as a... It's like you didn't know if you should trust Gollum or not. And in Return of the King, you see what happened, but it seemed like the whole path of Gollum initially was a path of redemption. But then ultimately he doesn't be redeemed. But then you do see moments where, like, is he trying to betray them or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like you learn early on that he's not someone you should trust. So it's not really a team up. It's more of a manipulation team up instead of, they're really working together and they like each other. They're not trying to use each other.
But by this list's rules, like if Khan and Kirk were just using each other.
Exactly.
And I mean, Gollum is certainly at least a type of antagonist, even if he's not the villain, so to speak,
What about fucking Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker?
Oh, hey.
Return of the Jedi. It's an iconic scene there.
I feel the conflict within you. Let go of your hate.
If they're going to include, like, freaking 5 minutes of movies here as the team up, why didn't you go with Vader and Luke Skywalker?
Wow. I'm actually very surprised because, like, Star Wars is Star Wars.
Yeah. There's also, Ocean's 13.
Oh, yeah. They bring in Terry Benedict, right?
Yeah, and they even bring in, no, I got the facts wrong. Never mind,
You ready? I was born ready.
What about Wonder Woman and BVS? Feminism's wrong. But then they work together.
Totally. I mean, women have no place being in a superhero movie, let alone in a superhero fight. But hey, they let her be there, and they got the fight done. So technically that counts.
Exactly. What about, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs?
Oh, yeah. Those guys hated each other.
What about Captain America and Winter Soldier?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, they're not villain and hero to each other, but you know, Bucky's villain to a lot of other people.
I mean, if they put down comic book movies, fandom related material, be like, oh, just trying to pander to them. You don't do that. Oh, where's the fandom ones?
What about
can't win.
The horny teenagers and Jason Voorhees in Freddy vs. Jason? Because that movie makes a choice as to who is the lesser of two evils.
I mean, you got these teensy-weensy little things, and Jason has got this big old thing like...
See?
Where my horror at? Besides Silence of the Lambs.
Anyway, I think we came up with some good additions here.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for participating in this video. And Mikhail, thanks for requesting this, buddy. I want to take this opportunity to share with audiences something I didn't know that you educated me on. So I feel it's important everyone else knows about it, too. He taught me this.
Okay.
The Bourne Identity with Matt Damon was not the first Bourne Identity adaptation. Did you know that?
Oh, did they make it for TV?
They did.
I feel like I heard this recently.
They made it for TV. I saw the trailer. Saw Richard Chamberlain as Jason Bourne. And it looked terrible.
What kind of terrible are we talking?
It looked like, I kind of want to watch this because it looks so bad it must be entertaining. And I would love to see how different it is from the Matt Damon interpretation directed by Doug Liman.
Weirdly, so much more shaky cam?
Yeah. Well, there's no shaky cam in the Bourne Identity.
I know, so much more shaky cam.
Guys, he's a huge spy fanatic, my friend Mikhail. And now you guys know that Matt Damon was not the first one to do the Bourne Identity. And more people need to acknowledge the work of Richard Chamberlain in this terrible looking 1988 film.
Yeah,
oh,
paving the way.
But I can't judge. Can't judge it just off the trailer. Don't judge a book by its cover, even though plenty of people on the internet do that. Guys, you can subscribe to the Reject Nation. Click that notification bell. Are there any good guy, bad guy team-ups that we did not think of that should have been on this list? Comment below.